Good day, folks. This is Greg Judy at Green Pastures Farm. I'm keeping my voice down a little bit tonight because I'm on the path of a heifer that calved, and she's playing sneaky. She's up in this woods, and I just saw her up at the top of the hill. And what's funny is we saw the calf this morning, and she stayed with it, and we just left it and her and moved the mob. I just wanted to come up here and see how he was doing, and boy, she's so tricky. She acts like she's got the calf down there in the bottom. She just walked down there and, of course, tried to lead me down there to it. And I know it's up here. But cows can really be sneaky. They just have you convinced that's where the calf's at. No, you can follow them for days and days and days, and never find the calf. They know right where it's at. The reason I wanted to shoot right in here, this is an old road right here in front of me. As you see it, it's scoured out. Can you see it? There's a big V going up through here. This is built back in the days of wagons, horses. Of course, this road was never had any rock on it, just mud, dirt, mud when it rained. And it followed this fence line all the way through here. I'm kind of keeping my voice quiet too. This is some of my prime turkey hunting, which is going to be opening here pretty soon. Anyway, it's just gorgeous down here. Look at the red buds. Can y'all see the red buds? There's just a sea of red bud right here. I ought to call this, red bud draw or red bud holler. Red bud holler. I like that. It sounds more Rucker name, red bud holler. But there's some massive oak trees down in here. There's a big one right there. There's another big one across the creek. And there's a great big black oak over there. Two of them. The one closest to me has got a bad spot in it. It looks like it's on its way out. It's going to be dying. And yeah, I wanted to clarify. We're not going around cutting down healthy black oak trees. No way. And there is a disease coming through the Midwest going after these guys. There's one that we got. That's a dead one. Big tree. It's down here in this holler. I didn't even know it was down here. It's dead. And that would have made a really nice saw log if you'd have got it 5 years ago. But now it's rotten. Woodpeckers have drilled holes in it, and so it's a wood fertilizer for the woods. It's gonna fall on the ground, and the woods will take it up, and it'll grow more trees. Anyway, this is a really neat old roadway. There's actually a home site. I just walked by it back in this woods over here. And on this home site, the old guy that lived here, Marshall gave me a picture of this old man that lived up on that hill over there. It's hard to believe. There was 40 acres right here. Now we're talking 1880 to 1930 in that time frame. Probably 1920. Anyway, got a picture of that old man and his family, his wife, and he had 7 kids. And they're all sitting in their Sunday best in this little house over here on this ridge. The foundation's still there. I can go over and show it to you. And the cistern where they got their water out of, it's still there. There they were, sitting on the front porch of that little house. And that house was 16 foot long by 12 feet wide. And it had a second story in it. That's where all the kids slept. And that was it. And they all had their Sunday best clothes on. Suits, and pretty good looking clothes, and pretty grim looking though. Nobody had a smile on their face. They were all pretty grim looking. But that old guy made a living on that 40 acres I'm showing you in front of me right here. It had a little bottom that I've got grass on now down at the end. So he probably put a little crop in down there. And then there was another source of revenue here at Rucker back in the early 1900s, and that was railroad ties. So the old timers would cut down trees in broad axe. They didn't have a chainsaw. Use a broad axe, and they would flatten out these oaks, specifically white oak. That's what the railroad wanted. And you could sell railroad ties. And there was one other product they were selling, and that was coal mine shaft beams. So there was a lot of coal mines in this area. And the old timers would just find the side of a hill and start digging and going back in there like a mole. And they needed beams to keep the roof from caving in on them. And they had these little steel cars that they laid track, and they would go back in a bank like that. And I remember an old coon hunter telling me he was out coon hunting one night in the dark in timber like this. He had his old carbide light on his head, and he could hear this tink, 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 tink. And you're like, what in the world? Out in the middle of the woods, dark, 12 o'clock midnight, what is that noise? And so his curiosity got the best of him. He kept going toward it, and there was an old man back in a coal mine shaft, and he had a pickaxe, and he was back there picking coal at midnight. He had his carbide light on his head, and he almost had a full wagon, and he had a little mule, and he took that mule and hooked it to that wagon and pulled that load of coal out. So this was at that time, old timers told me that you could make $15 a day digging coal. And folks, that would be equivalent today of probably $300 to $400 a day. I mean, that was big money. Because back in those days, you know, $1, my goodness, $1 went a long ways. And a nickel, I mean, you can buy, here I go talking about how old I am, I guess, but I can remember chewing gum for half a cent. You could get 2 pieces for a penny. 2 pieces of chewing gum for a penny, half a cent. So yeah, there's been inflation since the 60s for sure. But those old timers, they made a living back here on 40 acres. And it's kind of neat to me. Of course, they didn't have electricity. They didn't have a car, so they didn't have to keep that up. They didn't have a telephone. They didn't have any bills other than they had to make the payment on the 40 acres. And this old man kept it. He didn't lose it in the Depression. And I wish I could get a hold of that picture. Marshall's kids, I'm sure, still has that picture of that old man sitting in front of that house. It was a really cool old picture. But this old road went from all the way through here, from one road, which our farm is now, from that gravel road over there, which is Collie Road, all the way through to Carr Lane. And this is the old road that took it there. And there was a guy moved in here from Nebraska, and Marshall told me about him. He came in here with 2 Clydesdale horses. Had a big team, big old buckboard, and Marshall just had a little old pair of mixed up horses, little bitty feet on them, and these Clydesdales had feet about 1 foot wide. And he was coming down this road, and Marshall said, boy, your horses sure have big feet. He said, what are you going to do when it gets muddy? The guy kind of looked at Marshall and gave him a sneer and said, by golly, I'll go anywhere I want. I've got the power. And Marshall just kind of grinned and said, yeah, okay. Well, that winter, he came down this road. That guy did with that buckboard. And those horses, pulling that big buckboard, had big steel wheels on them. They got down here at the bottom of this hill, and his wheels were so full of mud, and those horses' feet were so clattered in mud. At that time, they were probably 18 inches big with all the mud stuck to them. That wagon wouldn't turn anymore, and those horses couldn't pull it out. And so he had to unhook them horses and drive them, hand drive them all the way back out of here. And Marshall said that next spring he sold out, moved back to Nebraska, because he said, I've never seen anything like this Rucker clay. So he was used to that different kind of soil, and Rucker clay sticks to you. It kind of likes you when it gets wet. It just sticks to you. So anyway, that's my history lesson for today. Really cool out here. You know, I'd love to have been a little mouse sitting here watching all this in the what we call the good old days. And Marshall's convinced me. He said, Greg, he said there wasn't anything good about them old days because nobody had nothing. Nobody had any money. You went to bed a little bit hungry. And he said it was just a hard times. He said, we don't know what hard times are today, but he said, we went through some hard times. So, yeah, we think we got it tough? No way. No way at all. Anyway, I'm going to sign off there before I scare the turkeys out. I got to go find that calf. I bet you that cow's up there looking for me at the top of this hill. Anyway, y'all take care, and we'll see you down the road. And I got a little buddy right here. Yep. Got to watch those darn things. I got to get that off me. Anyway, always when you go out in the woods this time of year in Missouri, folks, de-tick yourself. I used to do it at lunchtime, and I do it again before I go to bed. And I mean, you cover every inch of yourself. Get those darn things off you because they're not good, and they can cause you some grief. Anyway, I'm going to sign out of here. I'll give a plug for my book. It's going to be coming out here very shortly. And go to our website, greenpasturesfarm.net, and you can see where to order it from there. Y'all take care, and we'll see you soon.